So ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure of inviting Praveen Sengar, CEO ETEK International. Praveen is a CEO, an investor, advisor, turnaround specialist, and a performance coach. And that's quite an interesting portfolio. And he has evolved in the technology space for over 2.5 decades to be the leader he is today. Over to you, Praveen, for presenting your views on building sustainable business with reliant cybersecurity in this disruptive world. And as Praveen presents, be engaged, drop in your simplest questions in the Q&A section. Praveen.
Thank you, Kaushikda. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I'm on the other side of the world. It's 5:30 a.m. in the East Coast. Essentially, good to meet everyone on the call today. Really happy to talk about cybersecurity for a sustainable world. I think sustainability is a big topic. And as Kapilji mentioned, supply chain risk and supply chain sustainability, overall proactive approach towards the very dynamic threat landscape. And overall continuity of the business is the key challenge for many organizations. Recently in the Gartner Symposium of 2023, one of the key themes that the Gartner talked about was sustainability, and the foundational pillar of sustainability, one of the key pillars out of the 3 pillars was cybersecurity. So almost of 75 minutes of keynote, 45 minutes we spend on cybersecurity. So it's kind of get essentially important topic right now from sustainable business point of view. And today I'm going to talk about essentially cybersecurity for a sustainable world. What does it mean, and how we can help you in this journey, as ETEK as an organization. So very briefly, what is ETEK? I think we deliver peace of mind. That's our motto. And that's kind of what the purpose that we work for, we live for. We are more than 25 years in cybersecurity, 15 years. We have been doing MSS. We built our first SOC close to 2005. We have operations across Latin America and India, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, and India. We're a US firm. More than 300 clients, most of them in banking, financial services, insurance, telco, healthcare, some clients in utilities, essentially. And we have a diverse portfolio from IT and OT. So we are doing, both the enterprises which have OT specific requirements as well. We are a member of CSIRT. We are a member of FIRST. We are CSIRT certified, ISO 9001, 27000, all those. So it's kind of enterprise play. We are doing most work with larger enterprise players, helping them secure their critical operations. I think today in my presentation, I will talk about 3 key issues, which is relevant for CIOs and CISOs. I have been a CIO for myself for 2 years for NTT Group in the APAC region. I was managing 13 countries, 18,000 employees, and have seen a lot from cybersecurity perspective. So essentially, talk a little bit about what is cybersecurity 3.0. Then I will focus a little bit more on how to prioritize your investments and what is more important. And the last one is how do we make the board understand cybersecurity. The entire approach that I have today is more of a practical approach. I'm not going to talk about slides or a high-level pitch. I'm going to try to connect this, how you can go back and implement this in your organization and take the advantages, essentially, of the discussion on this panel. So what is cybersecurity 3.0? I think first point, which is very important for us to understand, is there is a misnomer out there that we can be 100% secure. It is something like saying that we will have 0 frauds in the organizations. So 100% absolute cybersecurity is not possible. What we can best do is we can prepare for cybersecurity. We can keep ourselves up to date. I was with one of the CIOs of a leading BPO company, and I asked him, what do you do first thing in the morning when you get up? And he said, first thing in the morning is to do my prayers, and essentially I pray every day that I hope everything is fine. I check all my incidents in the night, or anything happened. And then I do, I have a couple of top lists which I check. If any of those incidents has occurred or any kind of indicators have come in, then I call my team and discuss with them. This is the start of my day. He spends almost $60 million in cybersecurity. He was running Latin America, essentially for one of the large BPOs. So this is the case where what I feel is that we cannot be 100% secure, but we can best prepare for ourselves for absolute cybersecurity. Now it's kind of the threat landscape has changed, and as Kapilji mentioned about sustainability in supply chain, I think the biggest challenge right now is that we are so much connected or interconnected to a larger ecosystem, and we have APIs, we have applications, we have partners. We are putting everything in the cloud. We have a very dynamic architecture because people are working from home, and we are working from diverse locations. So there is an increased exposure, and the threat landscape has changed essentially in this process. And that's kind of what is bringing new risk, new vulnerabilities, new exposure to our enterprises. So what does it mean is we have increase in our attack surfaces. We have a more increased supply chain risk because we are working a lot with our downstream partners. I was in one of the client in Mumbai, and they do all this Aadhaar stuff with a lot of local partners. And local partners do all the scanning, all the data documents. They store it at their local places. They then do digitize it and submit it. But when we look at data security, we are talking about at the enterprise, which is doing at the core, at the center, but all the partners in the ecosystem who are doing this Aadhaar data, they don't have a lot of those controls. And that's kind of where the supply chain risk starts popping up, because they don't have the same level of security as you have at the center. We have increased internal risk because of our people, our dynamic architectures, people working from different locations, more and more automation, digitization, cloud, etc. And then we have more automated attacks. Essentially, the hackers are getting more and more advanced. They are planning those attacks, essentially using a lot of AI, ML themselves. And essentially, they are finding ways to penetrate larger organizations. And we run a lot of ransomware reports and threat intelligence reports, and we find huge amount of intelligence around different geographies with threat intelligence, that what is really happening and how the attacks are getting more sophisticated, targeting specific enterprises, opening up vulnerabilities in many of the core systems. So essentially, this is a big challenge for many enterprises. Many of you would have faced it, that everyone wants a great security at the moment, but unless until you have to pay for it. Everyone says that I want to do continuous vulnerability management, I want to do continuous, threat intelligence, penetration testing, vulnerability assessments, I want to do everything possible. But when moment you look for investments, the question changes. Okay, let's start prioritizing, let's do something where it is possible. How should I make a business case for my management? How should I convince them that they should invest in cybersecurity? Because security has always been a part of cost center. And I think with this whole discussion around sustainability and business continuity, it is getting importance to the board level. But essentially, we are still struggling to create a good value proposition, helping them understand why they should invest and where they should invest correctly. So I think this is one of the biggest challenges for CIOs and CISOs. One is essentially getting the being a trusted partner to the board and the business. If I control and I too much of control, I put a lot of controls, I put close all the doors, then I kind of kill the business. If I open up everything, then also I kill the business. So essentially, this is a big challenge, that how do you convince your business partners and show them the value of cybersecurity, bring them into the conversations, align them. And that's one of the biggest challenges, that you speak the language which business understands and not the language that you understand from a technical perspective, from a risk perspective. So the language has to change more and more in terms of business risk, which is where CIOs and CISOs have to understand how they can convert their technical insights into a business impact. The second biggest challenge that we are struggling, everyone is struggling, providers are struggling, is retention, hiring, and skill sets. There's a shortage of skill sets in the market, and the salaries cost is increasing drastically. And that's a big challenge for CIOs and CISOs. The third biggest challenge is consolidation. I think we have invested too much in fragmented cybersecurity, and the time is coming that we have looked for a lot of best-of-breed tools and different controls across different layers, different systems. Time is coming that we need to start consolidating and saying that what is good enough for me. I cannot protect everything in a best-of-breed and in this manner. I have to start consolidating, optimizing my investments, and you will see that cybersecurity will evolve a lot more towards a platform approach, as Kapilji also mentioned, innovation about platforms. And that is what really is happening with a lot of smaller players who are coming and disrupting the larger players. And you no longer think about McAfee's and semantics of the world, but you think about vendors you have not even heard about, like Kangor or a Cybel or somebody who are emerging in this landscape, and they are coming up much more stronger because they're coming a lot with the platform approach. Microsoft is getting big and essentially gaining ground because of consolidation. The fourth one is automation. We have to live with automation because of the scarcity of resources. We have to start investing a lot more in automation, machine learning, AI, and see that how we can have automated response, automated mitigations. And the last one is visibility, because there's so much happening around there, from SecOps, from the external threat intelligence perspective, from your whole operations perspective. How do you bring IT and SecOps and all the controls and see what risk you're mitigating from the visibility point of view? I have seen those challenges myself, and I struggled a lot from a visibility point of view, kind of creating those reports for my management team. It was a big task, and essentially that's kind of what the CISOs have to worry about, continuously engaging with the business. So essentially, how do we prioritize cybersecurity investments? I think this is a big area of challenge. The first thing is that everything starts fundamentally with assets, and I think why I say that, because everything starts with business impact. So essentially, when you start looking at business impact, what is core to your business, what you are trying to protect essentially? And this is the biggest question to ask, that what are we trying to protect? What is my biggest core functions, and what are the areas that we have biggest potential impact? And that is first area to start with, analyzing the business impact from the critical infrastructure that you have. The second is from the threat intelligence perspective, looking at continuously what is the emerging threat landscape looks like, and get all the insights on the threat intelligence side and incorporate that into your strategy. And the other is critical infrastructure, which is linked to business impact. So essentially, you have to drill down a lot from the business side and approach what we are trying to protect, and essentially from there go into the critical infrastructure. So the fundamental starting point is essentially an asset-based approach. Now, many times people say, oh, this is not an asset-based approach. Many times NDR vendors will come and say, oh, asset-based approach is not the right approach. When we cover everything, we cover XDR and we do everything end to end. But you need to keep in mind that you cannot keep up to date everything in your enterprise. If somebody says I'm keeping everything up to date, I'm continuously monitoring, and I'm just kind of giving equal attention to everything, that's not really possible. You have to really look at the business impact in the organization, and from the business impact connect to those horizontal assets or vertical assets, or the assets which are from the partner point of view, ecosystem point of view, information assets, and bring those assets into your purview. What is really where I'm trying to protect? So the most fundamental starting point is assets. And this is essentially one of the most weakest areas as well. If I go to many enterprises and ask them, hey, you have an asset list? Yes, I have an asset list, but it's in Excel, or there is something which is not properly mapped. I have not kept it up to date. And essentially, so there's a lot of work that has to be done on asset discovery part and kind of managing it up to date. And there are some organizations which has invested, some are still struggling, some are kind of catching up. But this is really the fundamental point, the starting point, where you can be very practical and start with asset. The second point is to quantify the risk, because there are some inherent risk in these assets based on their profile, where kind of you have a Windows environment, you have a open source environment, you have behind the firewall, outside the firewall, the architecture, whatever you have deployed, then you start quantifying the risk. And essentially then what you start doing is, when you start going to the business context, you start having risk level agreements. What I see that risk level agreements means that what I'm trying to protect is this amount of risk. And for this amount of risk, this is an investment I'm asking. The simple example is like very simple patching. If I want to increase my patching, I need more resources. I need my patches to be tested, and then I can have a better defined structure. I can prioritize, I can do more faster patching, and I can say, and I have SLA of 15 days or 10 days, average in the industry. But if I don't have those resources, I'm living with vulnerabilities for maybe 30 days, and I say I'll do 30 days patching. And this is a risk level agreement. And when I have 30 days patching cycle, this is a risk that I am carrying, which if you want me to prioritize and mitigate, you give me additional investment of those additional resources or tools where I can start doing a 15-day patching cycle. So this is essentially the language that you have to present and align with your management team and the board and the business stakeholders, so that you can agree and come to a common terms how you can take your organization forward from a risk perspective. Now, essentially to solve this problem, I have faced myself as a CIO. We built this product for almost 3 years now. This is called Netrum. Netrum is the third eye of Shiva. It's essentially which is looking beyond obvious. We call it Security Insights and Threat Analytics Platform. And SITA, which is powered by Netrum. And essentially Netrum kind of solves in the practical manner is essentially like what I say in Vipassana. Vipassana is which is a very practical way of doing meditation. And it's kind of teach you every step how you do meditation, which is not theoretical, which is not saying that look at this or that. It tells you very practical ways of parenting yourself and going deeper and understanding how you can start your spiritual journey. So essentially, this is like a practical approach where this gives you a lot of good insights, how you can quantify risk and how you can take it to your management team, and you can have a board level conversation rather than having a technical conversation. So what is really a SITA? SITA is a CISOs and CIOs companion, a partner to you guys, helping you guys to really go and have essentially a dialogue with the business, have a dialogue with the management team, with the board. It helps you to optimize your security investments. Even with this, not investing a single dollar in a tool. Well, we started on our journey of onboarding you in this platform. We'll discover so much about your environment and so much about your insights that you can start optimizing that how you are not really optimizing your dollars and how you are maybe better off investing in certain areas where you might get better outcomes from what you have been investing so far. So it's kind of showcase, and also it gives you a continuum where you can show the value of cybersecurity, because the most common thing is how do you add value to us? How do you create business value from cybersecurity? And essentially that's kind of a very common question. How have we improved? How is our risk profile? What are we doing which is essentially ensuring that we are secure? And these are the common questions that many of us get. And to answer those, we have to have a timeline view, a historical view. We have to show continuously how the risk profile has changed and how we are emerging as an organization. So there are 4 different modules in this platform, which is what we call Insights, OEI, Risk, and ROSI. Insights and OEI is more focused around SecOps, real-time reports around CyberSoc, gives you insights into what you're protecting, gives you insights into use cases, playbooks, give you a lot of excellence around SLAs and those kind of things. It's just more insights. Risk and ROSI is essentially more quantifying the cybersecurity risk. I'm not talking about general business risk. I'm talking about cybersecurity risk in terms of the business impact. And you kind of create those risk models. We look at your control landscape and see the quality of the control landscape and the architecture, and then say that, okay, this is what inherent risk that you carry. And then we look at the new investments and create the ROSI model for the enterprises. This is essentially the 4 different platforms. Most of the times we just do insights in OEI along with the SOC. So we have a SOC and you have deployed a SOC, then we start kind of creating mining more value for you in CyberSoc operations, and we're deploying insights in OEI and start giving you a lot of deep dive into what you're trying to protect and essentially how good you are. And then once you have done that, we have got the data inside us, then we start quantifying the risk and we start a risk management journey with the clients. So this is our engagement model for the platform. Now, essentially, how do we do it? And essentially, this is the most critical slide that I just want to explain. And we start with the first fundamental definition of assets. So essentially, we do the asset discovery, which is all the assets, IT, OT, or other assets, information assets that we discover. We bring the asset context. So that's where we engage with you, dialogue with you, and bring the asset context. So we have the environment, the architecture, the understanding. Based on that, we develop the threat model that is there based on the industry-leading MITRE or NIST frameworks. We develop the threat model for you. This is an ETEK IP. And based on that, then we start getting into your control frameworks and how much control you have based on your architecture or the controls that you've deployed and the maturity of that. And we calculate your inherent risk profile. So basis, we call it threat modeling framework. And based on the control, we get into a kind of your inherent risk and then get into a residual risk. So residual risk is essentially once we have looked at the control framework, we see that how is your risk profile looking like. Based on this, then we quantify the impact. So there is a metric to quantify the impact. If you're very mature, we can do more detailed dollar quantification. If we feel no, this is not really possible for us, then we can do a little something like more qualitative quantification in terms of high, medium, low. At least you start on that journey and you have a better conversation. And then as you start maturing, then you can start doing the dollar quantification. And that's where we do the risk quantification for you. After that, essentially this gives you a very objective view of your organization because you're starting for what is relevant for you. We also bring a lot of vulnerability management data and other data sets into the platform. So we can insert those into the platform to give you a view how you are and how you're progressing, because those are the real tests of your environment. You can say, I'm very secure with this control, but when we do vulnerability assessments, we realize that how good the effectiveness of those controls are. And essentially based on that, we kind of bring those data model as well into quantification. So we make it measurable and adaptable. This is some of the screenshots, essentially, once you start deploying the platform. This is the insights screenshots, OEI screenshots. I will just kind of, in case you're more interested, you can share an email and we'll be happy to discuss and dialogue. We are not really going far out. We are looking first to start with the SOC clients who are a little bit mature. At least they have some basic monitoring going on. They have other controls in place, and then we can start the journey with risk with them. If you have not started your journey even on CyberSOC, then maybe first we can start with a CyberSOC journey, and then we can have the risk journey started with you. I just wanted to end this session with only a very simple framework. What I see is a 5 C's for the CISOs and the CIOs. So first step is the consciousness, is essentially the awareness about what really is there out there in the environment. So this is where you understand the process, the business impact, the assets. You do a vulnerability assessment and gap analysis. You look at your critical compliances. You look at your existing control. You do the maturity analysis. So this is essentially more about understanding where you stand on the journey of cybersecurity, what's important for you. You look at all the threat intelligence reports and see what exists out there in the market, what in the deep web, dark web, or is there something that you're not aware of. The second one is a very important C for CISOs is culture. I think you have to be very accessible. You are like the part of the business, so you have to be very accessible, open. You are kind of working along with the business, helping them understand the importance of cybersecurity, embedding cybersecurity in every discussion, every application, every step of the organization, every business impact, every business initiative. You have to personalize cybersecurity, because it's not like one policy works for everyone. I have a lot of big fights in the organization where I've seen the critical C-level stakeholders not really liking any of the controls, and they want all the full, they want all the desktop domain access and everything. They want complete control over their own devices, and there's a lot of discussion. So we have to see that how do we create personalized cybersecurity, and see that how we can take a balanced view of cybersecurity. Awareness in the organization is very important. The people are the biggest and the weakest link, and essentially that's kind of where we have a lot of work doing in awareness area with ETEK. We've done a lot of awareness program, tabletops, and all those discussion with the C-level. Policy, ecosystem, understanding, educating your ecosystem as well. The third C is consolidation. This is important. This will be a big focus area for CISOs and CIOs. If you don't consolidate, you will struggle with your investments. You will have to see that where are we investing, how do we get all those controls, consolidation around your governance, incident response, data metrics, KPIs, reports. Cybernation is all about automation. This is where you will get CV XDR, you're looking at AI XDR, you're looking at new controls, SOAR, predictability, visibility, threat intelligence. Everything is coming more around automation. And the continuum is more about continuously engaging with the board, talking to them about ROSI, talking to them about risk profile, talking to them about effectiveness, how you are giving resiliency, reliability. So essentially, this is the 5 C's for the CISOs and the CIOs. That's kind of pretty much that I want to discuss today. In case you have more, very happy to get into one-to-one discussions, and essentially also see if there is anything that I can help you on this journey of Security 3.0. That's pretty much. Thank you, guys.